Oh my goodness. This is a great episode. I'm speaking with Troy Slaffey, um, a LegalShield expert, a personal mentor, and definitely a friend. Where he gives just a lot of good sound advice about how to protect yourself and how to protect your business and your assets for a very low cost. And also how you can build a six-figure side hustle from anywhere in the world, um, promoting a service that actually helps people. So I was really excited to get this interview done. I've been chasing after him for a little while now, so I got him locked down. This was a really great episode. It's a little bit on the longer side. I don't know if they're going to break it down into two, but make sure you pay attention to the end, or make sure you watch part two if they do end up splitting it, because we do. There was so much to talk about. We're definitely going to have Troy back on. He just gave a lot of value and a lot of wisdom, a lot of gems in there that you could pick out. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed getting this interview. Welcome to another episode of the Six Figure Side Hustle. I am so glad to introduce you to a personal friend and mentor of mine, Troy Slaffey. Thank you, Troy, for making the time to jump into this call. I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. I definitely appreciate the invite. I'm geeked at this.
Troy is someone who knows a lot about a lot. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this focused on a topic, but I already know his mind, the way his mind works, because he does know so much about so much. He's going to try and give you a lot more than you might be ready for, but we're going to get into it because I know you're anxious to share. So when you are operating as a consumer, when you're operating as a business, when you're trying to build something, we often are building on the sandy land with no foundation.
Yes.
But that is the wrong way, right?
Yes,
All
100%.
right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get right into how you could build a firm foundation, and you're not building it an empire just to have it taken away.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And just for the record, my middle name is Sherrod, which stands for Keeper of Wisdom. That is why I am so well versed. It comes from my mother and father, honestly. So when it comes down to it, I am from a history of entrepreneurs. From my father's side, my grandmother, her brother, and all of them owned their own business. She never worked for anyone. My father owned the first quote unquote African American, I say indigenous American business in the North Philadelphia area. It was actually a convenience store and record shop at the same time. So it was the first of its kind in that genre of business. And so, I get it naturally. My mother started me in business at age 14 years old. I had my own candy store and I made hoagies and I baked cakes and, just learned various things because I had a well-rounded family, if that makes sense. And I believe that is number one, the foundation is having, those have gone before you that you can ask the questions. From my mother's side, my grandfather, he used to work for GMAC, the car industry, working in, doing mechanics, but then he started his own shop. So once again, from both sides, I have this business thing. Mm-hmm. And then my mother was an entrepreneur, an avid entrepreneur since I can remember. She always, made robes for churches. She sewed, she made clothing, and she taught me that. So it's so interesting how I'm able to do so many different things. And then my mother was a healer naturally, and I got that as well because I'm a massage therapist by trade with a degree in accounting. So, the financial world is what fascinated me because at age 14, I was earning $40 a day. And then when I became 18, I was making about $1,900 a month at that young age. And so we're talking about in the uh, early, in the mid 80s, and to have that type of income early on, it just showed me like, wow, I can do whatever I want. And so I began to become an avid entrepreneur because I don't like people telling me when I need to get up, what time I got to be in, what time I can go to lunch, if I can take vacation. When
Right.
I did work in corporate America, and I've worked for multiple corporations, Blue Cross Blue Shield, I worked for Price Waterhouse. I've worked for, Elwyn Institute. I worked for the Union League, which actually used to have, back then it was the last four presidents that were part of that. So we're talking about major corporations, ITT Hartford, working for places like this, Hospital University of Pennsylvania, Greater Atlantic. So I always worked in the financial field, and then I managed a Afrocentric bookstore in Center City, Philadelphia area. And I helped to take them to $100,000 net profit within my first year with them. So, I just have a litany of things that I've done, but always being a people person, wanting people to grow, have, do, and become, if that makes sense.
That actually gives me some clarity of why you know so much about so many things. A lot of that I was not aware of, especially your extensive corporate. Like, you basically just said like 5 lifetimes of careers in this short span. So I don't even know when you had time for all that. But yeah, that's so. You know what would you say the lessons you took away from your corporate world? Because a lot of entrepreneurs will kind of get down on people who work jobs, but oftentimes working in corporate America can teach you a lot of skill sets that you could then take away and use. So what did you take, just so if people want to skip that 20 different corporate America jobs that you just named, what are some things that we can learn from your experience?
Um, and, and just one other thing, I work for Romack and Associates as well. That's a permanent placement agency. But I did all of my career was in the financial industry. Um, whether it was from the billing side of medical or whether it was from the financial side of bookkeeping, accounting, payroll. What I learned is one, it is not about what you know, it is about what you're willing to learn. So I remember when I worked at ITT Hartford, I knew nothing about insurance. I was a file clerk, but by the time I got finished, I was doing input, the reason for the claims, because I asked questions. Never be afraid of corporate America. Corporate America is a learning ground to take you to your next level. If it wasn't for me being an inquisitive child, now I'm an Aries, so Aries is always asking questions like why. So
Yeah,
I was
I'm
that
also
mother's
an Aries.
so I was that mother's child that no matter what she said, I'm like, why? I needed to know why because when the why is big enough, the how to's will take care of themselves. I always need to know why because you'll find that the A students know how, the C students know why. So normally the A students work for the C students. We think that it's about the grade. It's not about the grade. It's about the understanding of the why. Why am I doing this? And why does it work for me? And how can it work for others? So it's about you have to first be selfish in order to then be selfless because it is about us adding value to others, but we can't add value to others until we add value to ourselves. So that was the value for me of working in corporate America because I added value through always asking why and how so that I knew both sides of it. So I then could employ people that knew the how, but I knew the why.
That was some crazy game. And I know a lot of what you said is going to go over some people's heads. So make sure you watch it again because he gave like so much value just in that little bit. Yeah, you should always be adding value whether you're working for someone else or working for yourself. Um so I got a lot from what you just said. So
And
thank
one other thing is that also doing things in excellence. Sometimes we get jobs and we say, "Hey, I'm going to do the job," but we do it. We work hard enough not to get fired, and they pay us just enough to keep us. But my thing was, no matter what value you found in me, I know the value I bring. So when I left, they always felt a loss because I always added extra value to what I put toward. So one of my mentors always say, do everything with speed and boldness. How quickly can I get this done? I remember one particular time, manager
you.
dropped something off at my desk and said, I need for you to complete this. I was at HUP and I'm rolling through doing it. And I noticed that I was doing it based upon the person versus the provider. And I had to enter it into buckets based on provider. So I took the document back to him and I said, listen, I can save about 3 hours off of this if you could rerun this in a provider fashion. And the manager said to me, we didn't ask you for your opinion. Do it the way I shared. And I said, well, you can't pay me enough to waste my time. Do it your darn self. Like so when it comes down to it, he brought it back to me a couple hours later the way I requested, and I got it done like that. That
Right.
was me adding value. Now, granted, it could have seemed obstinate, but my thing is that you're not wasting my time. And so that's one thing. Time is something you can never give me back,
Right.
if that makes sense. And value is something that I can always bring. So you work on, one of my friends said, work on yourself to be better for me while I work on myself to be better for you, and we'll both win. And I've always loved that saying. What's amazing is that while working in corporate America, one of my mentors shared something with me that was very valuable. And the statement was good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. And this is the interesting part because when you're at your best, you're at a higher level. So now you're only good. So every level has rounds. So you consistently work on yourself to become better so that you then become your best eventually. So you'll be good again so you can work toward being best again.
Yeah, those are definitely words to live by. I do feel like in certain areas people are just like you said doing just enough to not get fired or just enough to be considered good, and when you strive towards excellence in all that you do, in you never know who's watching you. You never know who's noticing you. You
Mm-hmm.
could be volunteering and giving your all, and you don't know who's there. You don't know what opportunities that could be open for you just by being excellent in all that you do. So I do like that you said that that's the approach you took in working for other people. But of course, we want to shift focus into your six-figure side hustle, in which I kind of alluded to a little bit, and how it is going to be connected with building a strong foundation for businesses and personal life. But do you want to share a little bit about what this is and how you got into it?
Okay. So, of course, working for other people, I was actually working in a hospital at the University of Pennsylvania doing bad debt collection, third party medical billing, administrative complaints. Long title. They approached me and said, we're going to give you a raise and a promotion. At the time, I had locks, 26 inches long down my back. And they said, cut your hair and we'll give you the raise and promotion. So, number one, I was the only one there with a degree. The managers and supervisors came to me to fix their situations because I knew all 5 areas of the healthcare system and they only knew one. And so I was really disgruntled with that. So they still gave me the raise and promotion, but when I got my first check, it was 31 cents more per hour. Just imagine, right? So I
Yeah.
came along and the young lady said, "Hey, I have something I want to share with you. May or may not be interested. It's going to take about 15 minutes of your time. Here's my address. Stop by my home later." Stop by our house, looked at some information. It blew my mind. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where, let's say, you were about to purchase a product and you may have made the purchase, but it was defective and you tried returning it and met resistance. Or been in a situation where you received a moving track violation and didn't know what to do other than just pay the bill. But see, points that come on your license, the gift they keep on giving because they keep going up, up and away when it comes to the rates. Or just been in a situation where you were confused and didn't know what your rights were. While I was on this job, the young lady shared with me a company that went by PPLSI, rebranded by the name of LegalShield now. And I took part in the service. So one time I was at the job and they came to me and they said something. They said, "Hey, we're having a meeting at lunchtime. We're going to buy pizza and sodas. We're going to have the meeting over pizza and soda, and then you guys can go back to work." I'm like, wait, so you're telling me I'm going to sit in a meeting for your company to go over some information and you want me to kill myself with pizza and soda because I don't eat that type of diet. And then I'm supposed to go right back to work. Imagine that. So I called my attorney while I was at the job. And I said, "Hey, this is the circumstance." They said, "Hey, what's the policy?" I'm not sure. They said, "Do you have your policy manual?" I pulled it out. I actually copied it, faxed it over to them. They reviewed it and got back to me and said, "Tell them you will not be attending that meeting." So I walked in into my manager's office with all boldness, and I'm like, "Hey, I won't be at that meeting." "Well, you're going to get suspended." And I said, "If you suspend me, my attorney said these are my legal rights." He came out beak red. "Meeting canceled." That was my first position. And I'm like, wow, this actually worked. I never knew that it could work like that. Then I moved along and I wanted to actually purchase a home. I found a $250,000 home. I was not used to, I worked as a mortgage broker at one particular point. I told you multiple.
Yeah.
So I was able to do my own mortgage, but I didn't know that when you walk in, you're not supposed to be like, "Oh my God, I want it." And that's what I did.
Right.
I saw this amazing house and I'm like, "Oh, I want that." So I went to buy it and I had the contract. Well, I said, I've never read a real estate contract before. I don't know what I'm looking at. Called my attorney firm. They had me fax it over to them. Guess what? They reviewed the contract and saved me $40,000 on the purchase. I was like, "You mean it can work like this?
Wait,
What?"
how they do
Never,
that?
exactly. I never know. I have no idea. Now, here's what's amazing because I started with this part-time thing,
Right.
making an extra $25,000 on top of my $65,000 job. Made a huge difference. I paid off the student loan mafia. I owed them $20,000. So I took and paid that off, but then took the $5,000 and started my own company. So now I have this extra side hustle thing and I have another side hustle thing, my own company, which was amazing to be able to do.
Wow.
So as I was saying, my first year I made an extra $25,000, and what I did was I took $20,000 and paid off the student loan mafia. I don't know if you ever had them after you, but they are unrelenting. And I took the extra $5,000 and started my own company and was working from home. So by December 2002 was the last time I ever had a job and was able to work from home and gain traction to the point where, I was having fun while I was doing what I was doing because I was able to travel from state to state and market my services because I was not bound by guidelines of a state. So when it comes down to it, I love the fact that I could work in all 50 states with no problem. I could also market both of my businesses as such because I'm a tax accountant by trade. So taxes are federal. They're not state by state. When it comes to legal issues, you will find that legalities are state to state. But when you have an attorney firm that is connected throughout all 50 states and able to now assist in whatever given state you're in. Again, now you're not locked in by borders, which is wonderful to be in a position like that. So I would literally on the weekend, I would go partying in New York and market my business. Then the same weekend, I'd be down in DC and market my business, be in Maryland, be in Atlantic City where one of my best friends lived, and was just having fun. Never even paid attention to the money aspect in the beginning because I was having fun. Then they started sending me a bonus each month. I could get anywhere from $300 to $500 monthly bonus on top of the income. And I'm like, wait, huh? So literally to date, over 191 months, they've paid me $500 bonus per month. So I drive what I want to drive now.
Okay. So there's a lot to unpack there. Like, let's first bring it a little bit back. Can you just go over what LegalShield is in case someone, hasn't heard about it or isn't really familiar with what is the product that you're selling or the service?
So the beautiful thing is, as you grow and you change and you develop. So what the company has done is looked at where we are presently within the COVID crisis. And they pivoted and gave us a mobile app. So directly on your cell phone, you can tap and gain equal access. So just like during that period of time, shopping pivoted to Amazon. When it came to music, we pivoted to Spotify and Apple Music and Pandora and all of those things, because what they did was looked at what was happening and looked at the consistency of what the people were doing. People were afraid to go out, but they were still dealing with issues. Many people were together and decided, you know what? I don't like you anymore after being with you for 2 years, in one space. And so one of the things that we did was we looked at all the needs of people. So we provide unlimited phone consultations. If you have questions concerning your legal rights, you pick up a phone, speak to a top-rated attorney, whether it be business, personal, or professional, and at the end of that phone call, not receive a bill. I remember back in the day, you would call and they would ask for a credit card and they would charge you for every 15-minute increments. And if you went over the 15 minutes, it went to the next 15 minutes. So it was crazy. With this, is unlimited. Also, they'll review contract and documents. I was in a situation right before this pandemic occurred. I was going to do a lease purchase option. I put $7,000 down and I applied for the application for the mortgage. And some things had, during the pandemic, things shifted.
Right.
And so I told them, hey, I need, extension for about 2 months because during the pandemic, some things had to shift. Well, they said, we're not interested in extending the contract. Now, I'm so happy because originally I was going to do a handshake deal. And they were like, no, we need to make sure it's contractual, not a problem. So I took the real estate contract and had that filled out. But I made sure that I checked off that you were able to have your money returned to you if, in fact, you got a decline in the mortgage or if something occurred outside of the norm. Well, they were trying to keep my $7,000. Now, think about $7,000 is not a lot of money, but it ain't nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, it's not
I had my
something
attorneys review the contract. Yeah, I had my attorneys review the contract, and they demanded for them to give me my $7,000 back. Now, if I didn't have access, I wouldn't have known what to do, honestly, because I've been in a mortgage situation, a real estate situation before, but the legalities behind it is what I was unclear on. Were they able to keep my $7,000? Were they not? But the contract spoke to it, and they were able to point it out to me, if that makes sense.
You said something before to me, and that it's reminding me. You said, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any rights. And that's really important because we're all operating in this world and we're kind of going through like little lambs And it's like the woods. There's big bad wolves out there, and they will lie, cheat, and steal and say anything to keep your money. And in certain cases, they are incorrect. But if you don't know enough, you can't argue it. So having a team of attorneys that you can call for really any little thing is a godsend. So how much, if you had to put a dollar amount, if you had to guess, how much money would you say LegalShield has saved you in the time that you've used them as a consumer?
Literally $98,000 plus.
So that's
Now,
a
the reason
six-figure savings. And
it
we're
is,
talking
it
about
is,
six-figure side hustles, and it's not just what you make, it's what you keep.
it is. And so, what has been amazing over the years is utilization has been key. I remember I had a consumer law issue, and I didn't know it was really a consumer law issue. I was just like, look, I got this membership, I'm going to use it. So I had gone to BJ's to buy some water. Now, I was using a friend of mine's membership to buy the water, but I walked in and saw this 65-inch television for $399. I was like, oh my God, I can afford that. So I went on and I purchased their membership for the purpose of buying the television. Now, after I got finished doing it, they went to ask the forklift driver to take the TV down from the rafters because the displays were empty. And she said, oh my God, I am so sorry. The forklift driver went home. Can you come back tomorrow? I said, not a problem. I went back the next day. They raised the price to $479. I was like, that's not what I agreed upon. I spoke to the manager. I even called one of the associates over that was there from the night before. And they said, yeah, I remember him. And this is what the price said. They said, sorry, it's nothing we can do. Not a problem. You wasted my time. I went home. I called my attorney. My attorney contacted them. They reimbursed me my gas money, $50, and only paid $329 for the television.
So you got a better deal than if they had just given it to you, like you said. There is power when you have attorneys acting on your behalf, because it shows that you have power behind you. It's not just you operating, it's someone with a legal degree and expertise who knows the law. And most of these, well, I'll say most companies who don't have in-house counsel don't really know what the law is. So they're just going by company policy. But if your company
Exactly.
policy is violating the law, who wins out? The law wins out. You can't,
Yeah.
you can't just make up rules that are violating different statutes as you go along. That's really, I also have, so I've been a customer of LegalShield for about 10 or so years. And the first time I ever used them, so I was paying, and I never really think to use them. But one day, a friend was driving my car and we got stopped in another state, and the friend who was driving my car ended up getting arrested, and they searched me, and I had a lot of cash on me because I was fixing up a property out of state. This friend who, well, he wasn't a friend, he was like a contractor who was coming with me from Pennsylvania, driving to the property out of state to do some work. But what I didn't know is that they had an unregistered firearm on them, and that's why they were arrested. So that's a lesson in and of itself. Be careful who you let ride and drive your car, because if they were acting unethically, that would have been my charge to eat. But anyway, so the officers searched me and took all my cash in a civil asset forfeiture and said, you have to prove that you didn't, this isn't through unlawful gain. So I said, okay, no problem. So I sent them my last 4 paycheck stubs, which were for like, altogether it was like $15,000 in paycheck stubs that, because I was a public adjuster. I was making really good money. And they didn't give it back. And it was like just this whole long, I tried to go at it alone for like about a month just because I'm like, this is crazy. How did, like, it was almost $3,000. And I proved that I'm making this income. And I showed you the deed to the property. And I also had a bunch of receipts from materials. So that's when I thought, well, let me try and see if LegalShield can help, if this is something, because I hadn't really used it before. And the attorney they assigned called like almost every day, and it still took her about 6 weeks. And this is how crazy this civil asset forfeiture is, that they can rob you, literal highway robbery. I was driving on the highway, they ran in my pockets, took my money, made me prove it was mine. I did, and they still wanted to hold on to it, but they were successful. They had to, and they sent me a check back, which was, it was okay, but it was just very eye-opening that sometimes you think that you could go at it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just having an attorney behind you on the letterhead, that's what's going to get it done, because they would still have that money to this day if it was just me saying, hey, this is my money, give it back. And they're like, hey, we don't care.
Here's the interesting part, and that kind of like leads us directly into. I'm glad you shared that story, because think about it. Sandra Bland, what was she doing? She wasn't doing anything illegal. George Floyd, I don't really know what the true deal was, but guess
Right.
what? When it came down to the young lady who got shot while in dead sleep, they always tell us we have a Miranda right. We have a right to remain silent. We have a right to an attorney. But if you don't have access to an attorney, what good is the right? Now, the funny part is you actually had access. You didn't realize it. I never submit to any type of search without my attorney on the phone. Because, see, sometimes they come up with all kind of craziness. Like you said, they were attempting to keep $3,000. Who would have got the $3,000? Where would it have gone to?
Their espresso fund, their margarita maker.
Or somebody, all of a sudden, it might have got missing out of evidence and somebody paid their mortgage. We don't know, for real.
We don't know. Amazing thing is, asset forfeiture is a multi-billion-dollar I don't want to say a year. I was recently looking at the statistics, and I know it is over billions of dollars. I don't know if that's per year or if it was over a multi-year period, but even if it was multi-years, just think about that. That's billions of dollars taken from consumers' pockets and confiscated, and made to prove. And I really don't feel like that's what the Constitution meant. Like, that's just crazy that they can make you prove that that's your own property, and even when you do, they could still shrug their shoulders. So yeah, having access to an attorney, I did not know that I should have called them when I was pulled over. And that
the moment you see those red lights go on behind you, you instantly, the first thing I do is reach for my phone. I don't pull over, because if you pull over and they're coming to the car and you're reaching for something, right, we already know what that gets you. So what I do is, before I even pull over, I have my attorney on the line. And there's happened to me before. And the officer walks up to the window and he says, may I ask, da, 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 da. And my attorney chimed in immediately and said, may I ask you why you're stopping my client? And he said, are you familiar with these particular codes? So he knew I was an attorney, because the attorney was able to give the codes immediately. Apples, oranges, pears. I don't remember what it was. Right. I'm not an attorney. However, it felt empowering when my attorney stepped in and stated whatever. And the officer said, well, you have a good night, Mr. Slaffey, and went on his way. I'm like, I got that kind of power. I'm like, I have the power.
Right. So not just as consumers, but also as business owners, you need to have legal protection. And you mentioned that some attorney, like that 15-minute billing. And when I was first getting started as in my entrepreneur world, I asked a CPA for a recommendation. And really, I think the CPA was a little bit more high level for where I was. Someone had referred me to him, and maybe he was taking me on as a favor, but he dealt with like high net worth clients, and I was just getting started. So he recommended an attorney. And when I started getting those monthly bills, I stopped answering emails and calls from the attorney because I'm like, every time they email me, they charge me for that email, and every time they call me, and it was not cheap. It was like, I think their billable rate, and they did me a favor. They're like, well, we're giving you this paralegal. Their billable rate, I think, was like $400 an hour. So every 15-minute increment is $100. And it's not once they get up to 15 minutes. It's if they send an email, that's a 15-minute increment. That's $100. So I stopped
Wow.
answering altogether. Like, stop emailing me because I'm gonna stop paying you. But it made me feel like I don't have access to an attorney because I can't afford to pay someone $100 for a minute to 5 minutes to 15 minutes of their time. And that is when I was initially introduced to LegalShield. And I'm like,
Awesome.
this is crazy. And I still don't know all the benefits of LegalShield, but just, yeah, having access as a consumer and as a business owner, that's very, very powerful. But and
Let me,
we could go on and on about these stories of why this is important and how amazing it is for such a low cost to have someone on the line if you get pulled over, to have to bounce ideas like, hey, I didn't like that they did this. Is this legal? And even to know if someone says yes, this is legal, at least it gives you peace of mind. Like, okay, well, I
it
was
does.
wrong. I thought that this was not fair, but they told me no, this is within their rights. So you're not like laying up at night like just
Yeah.
upset over things that, all right, let it go and move on. But I really want to concentrate on
Just,
the go
just
ahead.
before we go to the business piece, just one key thing, because
Oh,
you're a mother, am I correct?
yes, I am.
Okay. So most parents, I want you to think about this. What attorney firm do you have assigned to your minor child if they're away at college or just out at the mall shopping? Most of us, okay, attorney assigned to a child? No, I'm not going to do that. But why wouldn't you? Think about this. The Miranda right is a right to an attorney, not a right to mom and dad. Most children are already wards of the state because they're state property. So how do we deal with that situation? If I have the mobile app and I set it up on my teenager's phone or my child's phone away at college, and I teach them, not if you're driving along, put your hands on the steering wheel and just, be
Right,
silent, roll down the window and don't move. No,
right.
before you pull over, you tap on that app, you get your attorney on the line, and you have your attorney speak on your behalf. I have a friend that I actually had their child went away to college, and college is party time, right?
Right.
So they were at a party, and of course, the neighbors called the police. The police came because of annoyance when it comes to noise, but they searched the place and saw that they were drinking. They went to give out DUIs to the children for drinking. But the young lady that had the LegalShield plan, she tapped the app. Her attorney got on the line. She was the only child that did not get a DUI. Now, if you get a DUI while you're in college, do you realize you can't get a driver's license until about age 25? Because they literally place that on the record, and it's not cool. But see, we acquiesce and give up our rights because we don't know what those rights are. So to be able to have that type of thing, not only for yourself, but for your spouse or significant other, your never married dependent children under the age of 26, if they're full-time college students, or if you have a child that is your is that you're the legal guardian for, but they're not your biological, we'll cover them up to age 18. Or if you have a child that's physically and mentally handicapped, we'll cover them for their entire life for as long as you have the plan. So it's an amazing thing for less than $1 a day to be able to protect your entire family with legal services. Amazing. And moving forward, you were talking about the business piece.
Right.
It really provides an amazing business acumen as well. I know I have the small business plan. Now, you can actually, for $14.95, add that on to your family plan and have it for your home-based business. It will only cover you and your spouse. So if you have a business that has more employees or have employees outside of the family, then that's a different coverage. But for the base plan, let's say you're a real estate investor and you have multiple homes, but they're in multiple different states. We'll cover you up to 10 different states under that one plan. What other legal plans do you know that they'll cover you in 10 different states for a business? But it is relative to real estate more so. I had a friend that actually has a service during the COVID circumstance, had the circumstance where people stopped paying. Well, they received a letter from the attorney, and guess what? All of a sudden, magically appears like Lucky Charms. All of a sudden, money shows up because when they receive a letter from an attorney, it speaks different if they receive a threat letter from you. How do you end that letter, by the way? Love, Troy, or sincerely? The attorney knows what to say and the language to use to get them to move.
Yeah, no, that is and like I said, we could really, and maybe we will have to do a follow-up of all the different services, because I know we're not even going to have time to get into the fact that they will prepare your will for you and the identity theft services and all the discounts that you're afforded. So, of course, at the end, we are going to give you a way to get in contact if this is a service that, everyone needs to have it. Unless you enjoy paying attorneys $100. And like I said, that was the cheapest. That wasn't even an attorney. That was a paralegal, but that was the cheapest person that they had on staff, with $100 per 15 minutes. So if you would like unlimited access, we're definitely going to be giving you some links and ways to reach out to get started for, for like less than a cup of coffee a day, for what, like $20 to $50, depending on your circumstances, you could be bulletproof, have bulletproof protection. So why wouldn't you invest? Like I've said before, you can't get insurance when your house is on fire. And, some of these issues are happening in real time, and you don't want to have to sign up and be, placed on any hold or waiting for your account to get set up. You want to have immediate access. If you're pulled over, you can't be like, well, let me sign up real quick. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. You want to be on the phone dialing. And like you said, you didn't say anything to the officer. They spoke on your behalf. So, that's just, it's important for consumers, but it's important for business owners as well. When we're operating, when we're dealing with customers, when they're threatening to sue you, like there's just so many things that could go wrong that you need to bounce off of an attorney. And the document review, I mean, those things are priceless, because we always think and even myself, I review insurance policies for a living. I always think I know what I'm signing. And, sometimes I get my rear end handed to me because I signed something I shouldn't have signed. And then I'm like, why did I think, like, I didn't go to law school as much as I think I have some sort of high level understanding. And those are the lessons I have to pay for, because I should have knew better, because I already have this service. So my regrets are in not using this service more, not in, having it.
Hey, Sabrina, just real quick, there's one key thing that I do want to point out, especially small business owners, because I heard about this one young lady made a huge faux pas in business. Many times we say, hey, I can incorporate myself. So we go on the website, we pull an EIN number, and we think we're incorporated. People don't realize, one, we actually, through our service, you can have the fictitious name paperwork done, you can have the EIN done, you can have the articles of incorporation, you can have the corporate minutes done, but now they teach you how are the corporate minutes used. I had a young lady that went into audit, and because she didn't have her corporate minutes, she ate the bill. Because of corporate minutes, I never even really knew that until having dealt with LegalShield for so long. And then also, we make sure you're registered within your given jurisdiction properly. So there may be state regulations, there may be local jurisdiction regulations that you have to adhere to. So you can ask those questions. You may not know the difference between a C Corp, an S Corp, a LLC, a U Corp, which most people have no idea what that is, right? There are many different things. It's an unincorporated association. So when it comes down to it, you get a chance to learn these different things and what works best for your business model. You get a chance to speak an hour to a tax attorney each year to know, to strategize on how with your taxes and different things. If you have questions concerning taxation, if you have questions concerning hiring, or how your employee manual should be written up. All these different things, contractual agreements drawn up properly. Whoever draws up the contract wins because their attorney drew it up. You will never speak to a paralegal with us. You get a chance to speak to an attorney that has practiced a minimum of 15 years. And our attorney firms that are in each state that's assigned to you are AV-rated attorneys, which is above average, very high ethical standing. If you live in a very small state, and we may have a BV-rated attorney, which is the next rating. The lowest is a CV-rated, and then there's no rating at all. So the amazing thing is, we will deal with the top two. Majorly, we'll deal with AV-rated attorneys. So I know in the state of Pennsylvania, we have FIFIC and FIFIC Law Group, which is an amazing firm that gets back to you within reasonable time. I actually had a call today. I called because I had a question. And it was just a question about business entity. And the young lady said, hey, you know what? I'm going to do 1 hour research for you and get back to you later this week to make sure that you have an ironclad answer. Google is not your friend when it comes to asking legal questions because anybody can publish something on Google. So it's just an amazing service to have.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. And then also, when you said I'll do the research for you, you have to put a value on your time. So even if you are going through, like, what is your time worth? And then on the back end, what is your lack of knowledge costing you? So you have to balance those two things. And yeah, I would definitely recommend this as a service. 100%. I would never get rid of it. Even if I did need a higher level corporate attorney for something specific, I would still maintain this relationship because, again, that whole $100, $200, $300 per 15 minutes, you pay it if you want. Yeah, I don't want to. I like asking questions. I like having someone.
We're not actually replacing people's attorneys because I have people that have attorneys and they're satisfied with their attorney, but sometimes they need a simple letter done. Right. Why am I going to now pay X amount of money when I can have it? Literally, I say to people, hey, for anywhere from $5 to $10 a day, you can hire LegalShield to do the footwork for you.
Right.
And if by chance you already have an attorney, you can have LegalShield do the work for you, but then maintain your attorney for the higher level circumstances.
Right.
It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. So I 100% agree with that. Definitely.
Exactly.
And the other thing is because there are 127 different areas of law, your attorney may not cover that area of law. So we cover every aspect of law because we have a network of attorneys throughout the nation and Canada. So even internationally, the entire North American continent, you're covered with our service. That is a powerful circumstance. And at the bare minimum, $29.95 a month. That's $1 a day. If your family's not worth $1 a day, I'm gonna help you get a new family.
Right. I mean, if your family isn't worth that, this probably isn't really the community for you, because we are here to build legacy for our
Yes.
family and our future generations. So it's not just about enriching ourselves, it's about passing on legacy, and really leaving our future generations better off than what we were left with. So that's, absolutely
Mm-hmm.
one of the core values of this group. So if you don't believe that, you're probably in the wrong place. I mean, just honestly speaking, I want people who, yeah, those are the values. I want people around me who are like-minded and, want to, yeah, just want to do better. If you knew better, you would do better. But if you know better and you still choose not to do better, like, that's on you. That's on you. You're going to keep
Crazy.
bumping your head, and it's going to be expensive, and it's going to be hard, and it's also going to be unnecessary. Because there are
Exactly.
services out there that could help you for, like you said, much we waste that on dinner at McDonald's.
We do.
You spend $30 easy. So to hear that there's an option that can protect you, and provide ongoing support, question answering, saving you money here, there, everywhere, that's a good deal any day of the week to me. And that's why I've continued to use this service. But we do want to get into how you can also turn this amazing service into a six-figure side hustle. Obviously, the service sells itself. If you're listening and you're thinking, I need a membership, basically that's why you should be on the side of the team building side, because this is a really great product slash service to sell, to be able to market with whatever you're doing. It's the perfect six-figure side hustle, because like you said, you're doing this from home.
Yeah, and you get a chance to have residual income. That is a key part for me that I love. I've been doing this now for over 21 years. And the beautiful thing is that in the beginning, you go through attrition. People get started, stop, started, stop, start. But that's natural. In business, think about this. How many people did you work next to in the cubicle and you're like, that lazy son of a somebody that just wasn't good at their job, and always the work fell on you? And it's okay, because what happens is, J. Paul Getty said, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. Because now, if you have both 100% of your efforts and 100% of other people's, guess what? You can literally become wealthy. So I love that particular aspect of it, is because I literally am in about 20 different states and counting now, where I have income coming in, whether I go to work or not. And I'll share with you something that happened to me last year. I fell sick around April, not of COVID. I had a bowel obstruction situation that occurred. And the crazy part is that when you're not feeling well, you don't want to do anything.
Absolutely.
Sometimes mentally, emotionally, physically, you're just not in the space. But I've been working with the company for over 20 years. I got paid 14 times per month from April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, and January, and went into February, 14 times each month, and still was able to maintain that $500 monthly car bonus on top of my income. When I tell you, it almost takes me to tears thinking about, had I had a regular job, I would have to possibly fight for workman's comp, had to possibly fight for, long-term care and all these different things that you pay into, but when you need it, it seemed like it never works. Well, this right here was a retirement income that allowed me to maintain my level of life, because life is what we all have. Style is how we live it. I was able to maintain a lifestyle because during that time in August, I bought a Lexus while I was sick, not working,
Right.
and was able to maintain a healthy credit score. What job do you know that you could have bought a brand new car in the midst of being sick, not have to report to someone, not to have to send in medical, forms and documents? So it was amazing to be able to have a different level of life, even though I was sick and down for that period. And my business still grew without me. You
Those
can get
are,
to that
yeah,
level. And
those are very amazing keys. And what I'll say about this is there aren't that many businesses, we'll consider this to be like a direct sales type business where you're being compensated for selling a company's products and services. There's not that many companies that have a real residual structure or that are selling a product that is so valuable that people keep it on auto renew. A lot of
exactly.
the business models, because I like going to opportunity meetings. I know some people, they really get sick of their friends and family inviting them. I'll always go to an opportunity meeting because when you close your door to opportunities, you never know what you're missing out on. So 99% of those opportunities aren't right to me, but I'll never stop closing my door. Like the juice auto ships, like I'll cut those off. Or some of these weight loss, get these shakes and they're horrible. And it's like, okay, well, you got me for 2 months, but then that's that. There's not that many residual billing structures where people will, they won't drop off. But because there are so many levels and layers to the benefits that this service provides, there's really not a whole lot of people who drop off. The people who drop off are the people who don't really understand and I don't fully understand. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I still wouldn't drop off because of what I do know that it provides. That in and of itself is valuable enough. But I know we're going to do another call where we go into all the different layers. So I really fully understand all of this. But yeah, as a business model, to be able to take off, would you say 14 months, or not take off, but have to step away for your
It was
business,
about 10 months. It was about 10 months, yeah.
and it continue to grow, like that is actual entrepreneurship. Like, that's not dependent on you to succeed. So if you build the business right, it can operate with you stepping away from it. You're not bound by state restrictions. You're not even bound by going into the office. This is a true digital nomad type lifestyle. So if you're looking for something where you can just promote a really valuable service that really everyone should have, I can't really think of anyone who could not benefit from these services.
Now, here's the challenge, though. It is work. So I don't want you to think it's
Yeah.
not work. The work is having an understanding of the service itself and how it operates and how it works and being able to convey it. I don't like convincing people anything.
Yeah.
They say convince a man against his will and he's of the same opinion still. What I do is I convey to people, and this is actually a true insurance. It falls under the insurance model. That's why there are about 13 states that you have to have a license. But all the rest of the states are open and flowing. And most of those states, there's not many, people there. But it's a wide open thing for those licensed states.
So there
When it
are
comes,
some states where you'll have to go and get, what kind of license would you get?
generally it depends. Okay, so you normally have to apply to their state for the legal service license. The only state that is different is Massachusetts. You must carry a property and casualty license. And because it is a true insurance product, and that's the one key thing people don't get. You're not going to walk into a Walmart, a Target, a CVS, a Dollar Tree, and find a top rated attorney sitting what on the top shelf because they're top rated. I don't know, but you're not going to find that. Where with many of these other type of opportunities, you can go to Amazon and buy it. You can go to CVS or BJ's or Costco's. You're never going to find an attorney sitting up on the shelf in those stores waiting for you to say, oh, I need this attorney right here. Because attorneys are just like doctors. They specialize, their specificity in their area of service. So you're not going to go to a heart doctor for a podiatry issue. You're going to go to a foot doctor if you have a podiatry issue, right? Ears, nose, and throat is not going to cover the heart. Brain is not going to cover the hand. So it's relative. So when it comes down to attorneys, again, 127 different areas. When it came to Mike Tyson, you know why he ended up in jail? He took a tax attorney into a civil issue. It wasn't a civil attorney situation. So if you take a tax attorney with the wrong type of attorney to a case that has nothing to do with his area of law, you lose. So the wonderful thing here is a one-stop shop when it comes to legal aspects. And we don't have a whole bunch of other stuff. We do two different things: identity theft and legal services. It comes together. And that is what I love about this, is because they protect you. And when you have the combined services, you are provided with a credit counselor that will talk you through improving your score. Because when it comes to credit, it is not just about you paying a bill. It is about you having an understanding of how credit works and how money works. So we do an education piece to truly help you win. We had one client that started at 5-something credit score. He's now over 800 because of our credit counseling. So it's so many different things. I had a friend that actually, someone sat outside his house, tapped into his internet, and stole $21,000 from his bank account. We have a VPN, a virtual private network, that will cloak all of your devices, your cell phone, your internet, your tablet. If you're out at a Panera Bread or at a McDonald's or a school and you're using their public Wi-Fi, we have cloaking that occurs, and so many other different things that we won't go in today. But just know we cover the gambit of your legal services. Like, let's say if you had an alarm system in your home, you're not going to put an alarm system on one window and leave the other 10 windows uncovered. Right. You're going to cover everything. So when it comes down to our services, we cover everything from stem to stern when it comes to legal services and identity theft protection.
Yeah, that's amazing, because there's so many different services within there that you could be paying monthly for that are included in this. So if you start subtracting out what you're paying, basically you could be getting this for free if you're able to cancel some of these other services that you pay monthly for. And then you would have a free lawyer. So, that's just crazy to think about that. But if you don't have these add-on services like the VPN, like you mentioned, we're in such a crazy age where, I didn't even know that I don't even know how that happened, and that's possible. But after we sign off, I'm gonna have to add the VPN service, because I know you did text me the link, and and that's what I mean. Like, I don't use all the services, but that's to my detriment. But I would never get away from it, because I know that they're all there for me when I decide to get off my butt, which will be today.
I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Trust me.
Absolutely. So that's super crazy. So we're gonna get into the Rainmaker round. I will give you guys an opportunity where, if you want to sign up for these services, or if you want to sign up to be part of our team, we will include a free meeting if you use the code PLEDGE. So I'm gonna get Troy to give you some how to get in contact with him. But I will jump on the meeting if you are wanting to do either of those services, so we could really come up with a solid game plan and take a holistic look at your situation. But this is a crazy 6-figure side hustle, because it's not taking a lot of money. And it's a really, really great service to promote. And if for whatever reason you're not needing a six-figure side hustle, which I don't know who doesn't going into this economy, you should still be signing up for these services, because it's layers and layers and layers of value that you can't get anywhere else. And I've looked, okay? Whenever I join something, I'll always fact check it, and I'll always see, like, well, is there a better deal? Is there someone doing it better? And I'll tell you honestly, as someone who pays monthly for their consumer services, for their business services, there is no one who offers more for less. It's not out there. And, if there is, let me know. I'll verify it and I'll give you $100 if you can fact check this. But I've looked high and low, and I haven't seen anything with on-call lawyers where you could call and ask any stupid. I've called and asked some of the dumbest questions before imaginable, honestly, and they'll give me the answer, and they won't. If you call a real attorney, they'll make you feel this big for asking just a question. So a lot of times I would have questions and I wouldn't ask them, either because of the fee that was involved or because I just felt like this is such a stupid question. I don't want to ask them. But then I didn't know. And knowledge is power. And if you feel silly asking for something and you stay in, not knowing, you've gained nothing, you've gotten nowhere, and you haven't improved your circumstances.
And
So
I love with LegalShield because there is no dumb question. It's a question.
right.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, and I don't have to think about the cost. I just call. Hey, like today I had a question and she said, well, what are you trying to do? I said, I'm seeking to gain knowledge. And she said, well, no, I didn't. I just want to have an understanding of how this particular aspect of business works. And so she said, well, let me do some research for you. I didn't have a pressing question. I just wanted to know.
Curiosity.
But it's relevant,
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to get into the Rainmaker round. I got a few questions for you that I'm really curious about. Okay. So first question, what book are you reading right now?
Right now, I tell you in 1 second, because I read faster when I listen. So I use Audible a lot because it just makes my life easier. However, what I do is I buy the book and I listen to the book.
So I'm gonna give you something that it's gonna blow your mind. It's way better than Audible. It's called Scribed, and you get unlimited audiobooks, unlimited ebooks, unlimited podcasts, unlimited people will upload documents and reports, and just it blew my mind when I found it, all for $10 a month. So wow. I'm gonna include my little promo link in here, just because if you guys sign up using it, I get a month for free. But that's another service I'd never let go, because I think with Audible you get like one free book a month, but you never own it. Now with these you don't own it either, but for $10 a month I could listen to as many audiobooks as I have time for. So I took a road trip to Florida. I got through 3 different books.
Awesome.
And that was in a week's time. So I just love Scribed. I tell everyone, if you're a reader, if you're a listener, this is way better. Sorry, Amazon, but it's better. It's better.
It's all good. Listen, I'm glad. Make sure you send me your link or however that works. But Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Grazzi. That's what I'm listening to right now.
Perfect. And I love Dean. He's great. What book would you recommend someone who wants to follow in these 6-figure footsteps? If they want to get started in LegalShield and they want to scale to 6 figures, if you want to do this as a side hustle, but be successful very early on, what do you think that they could read that would really take them to that next level quickly?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would suggest the book People by You.
People buy
Because a
you.
lot of times we get caught up in selling a thing when it's not about the thing, it's about you and your energy in giving into those things. So if you're afraid of, if you're actually fearful, then I would suggest go for no, because it deals with that your next level is based upon how many no's you can get within a day. But if you have issues with self-esteem, people buy you. So but if you're one of those real highly motivated people, the 12-week year. So really it depends on who I'm dealing with. There are different personality types. So with me, I'm always looking at the personality type relative to what I'm suggesting to them, because it is personal development is personal. So it depends on who you are and how you take things in. So I would talk to the person to gain an understanding for who they are and then make that suggestion, if that makes sense.
Does, but just to be on the safe side, get all the books he just said. You know, you can't lose. You can't lose when you're working on yourself. Honestly, you're your own biggest asset. Your mindset, your skill set,
You
your
are.
network. I'm always going to say that again. So the mindset is the foundation that you're building on. Everything else collapses without it. So get all the books. What is your favorite quote? Now, you've given a lot of crazy quotes throughout this, but what's your favorite quote? You have a lot. You speak like a wise shaman or something.
Here's what's interesting. I think at this particular juncture in my life, my favorite quote is "I am." Now, it's very short. I am successful. I am wealthy. I am healthy. I am a winner. I am. It's about me. I am. Nobody else. Because when it comes down to, if I don't believe in me, I can't believe in you. Charity begins at home. Love begins at the self, and then it spreads forward. I can't help you until I'm helping me. So I am the most important thing. Now, I'm not taking away from your importance, but I am for me so that I can be for you, if that makes sense.
I knew you were going to drop the sauce on that one, and you really took it in a direction that I wasn't even expecting. And that is very important, because it goes back to that mindset. Whatever you think you are is true. And the words that you say to yourself matter. So the things that you say about yourself matter, because that's who you become, because that's what you believe.
Exactly.
So that was crazy. I didn't think you were going to go there, but you did. Thank you so much for that. So what is the hardest lesson that you had to learn that you're the most grateful for?
Not to take people's growth personal. You ever been in a circumstance where someone says something and you take it as a personal attack when it wasn't personal? It was their growing and their misconception of how to handle a circumstance. So sometimes, when I was just talking to a friend of mine just the other day, and I liken it unto years ago when I used to get stopped by the cops. I was nasty. I was just not nice. But what I realized, it was because of my lack of understanding for who I was that made me be nasty, because I felt like someone was trying to control me. But people's personal growth isn't about you controlling them or them controlling you. It's about that internal turmoil that they have yet to settle. And sometimes you can speak a loving word into someone's heart. One thing I always love, and I don't know what people's religious affiliation is. It doesn't matter to me. There's some principles, because my mentor always said, truth when crushed to the ground will always rise. There was a scripture that said love covers a multitude of sin. So what I've learned over the years is when I'm frustrated, when I'm angry, when I'm taking things personal, apply love. And when I'm too overwhelmed, I drink some water, because it helps to flush the physical internal body so that the mental capacity can stabilize itself and come to homeostasis. So I don't take things personal. And it's hard sometimes, because sometimes people say something, and like, for instance, let's say you're talking to someone like, oh, your breath stinks. Was that a personal attack to hurt you, or was that to really help you? So you could say, hey, here's a mint. That's another way to say it. But truthfully, what is it? Your breath stinks. And so some people are very direct. Some people are passive aggressive. It's relative. So what I've learned is allow people to grow through to who they are and stand in a position of love at all times, even when I feel like it's a personal attack. Go inside yourself and realize it's not personal, it's their growth, and you just help to guide them through it.
That, again, that was the sauce. That's really amazing, because I'm a sensitive person. I'm a very direct person, but I'm also I have thick skin, but I will go back and replay conversations and like, well, what do they mean by that? So it's like, I can take it.
Right.
I can take it, but sometimes I will overthink, like, were they calling me an idiot? They told me I look smart today. Does that mean I look stupid every other day? But I do, we're all in this growth process. And, and I go back and I think about words that I've said to people, or when people say, like, you really hurt my feelings, and that wasn't my intention. But I'm trying to grow and be better as a person, because I never want to harm. I want to help. And not everyone has those intentions, but even if they are trying to harm you, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So it's going back to the statement of I am. If you have that firm I am statement, it doesn't matter if you do think I look stupid every other day of the week and you think I look smart one day. I am smart, and that's what I tell myself. So it's fine. Whatever you think about me is fine. And that is where wisdom brings you. So hopefully you guys, no matter what age you are, it's, this is coming in my old age of where I'm at now. But it took me a really long time to get to that place and to really stop dwelling on what people would say to me. So it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about you. It matters what you think about you. All right. So, how can the audience get more info? How can we tap into you? You are a wealth of knowledge. I know you're not like a digital marketer. A lot of my guests will have books and courses and things to sell. And I know that's not really your lane, but I still thought, this is an amazing 6-figure side hustle. We probably could have gone on for 5 hours with everything, but I was trying to limit it. We'll probably break this into 2 episodes, even as much as I tried to steer it, because I don't want to edit out your content, or stifle you, but you know a lot about a lot. And I said that when we first started, and I kind of felt like we would go over, and we did. But how can we tap in? Like I said, if how can we tap in? How can we get started if we need a LegalShield plan? If we want to get started in this 6-figure side hustle, what's the best way to go about that?
Okay, so I will give my email. My email is E as in Edward, F as in Frank, G as in good, U as in umbrella. That stands for Elite Financial Group. So EFGU at LegalShieldAssociate.com. So efgu@legalshieldassociate.com. When it comes down to it, because you're one of our associate marketers, I would prefer people to email me, or they can call me directly. Is it okay to give my number?
If you want your number out
Nope.
there, of course, it's
Okay.
fine. Don't put my number out
215.
there.
My phone number is 215-432-9434. I'm a businessman, so you never know why someone's calling you. So 215-432-9434. And as a businessman, I've had the same phone number for about 24 years. I'm not going to change it because it's my
Yeah.
business line.
Well, I'll never get rid of
So
mine.
when it comes down to it, yeah, definitely reach out. Please
Use
share
code
the
word
fact that you
pledge.
came
Use the
through.
code word pledge.
There you go.
And then we'll give you a free joint consultation. I'm straying
Yes.
away from the one-on-ones, but for this, because it's so important to get you started on the right path, whether that be with just your consumer business self or with your business self, and going forward in this as a six-figure side hustle, we want to really make sure that you're on the right path. Of course, then you would have my personal number, but for sake right now, we're going to keep that off the record. But once we're partners, you would have access to me on a more personal level, because I answer all. I have really no boundaries, and that's why I can't give my number out on here, because I don't turn it off.
As a female, I would not. As a woman, I would not suggest you do that anyway. As a man, it's not going to bother me, and I will always connect it back to you. So using that code word pledge, whether it be via text, whether it be via email, and then what we can do is I'll confer with Sabrina, and we'll come up with a good time that works for both of us, and we'll do a Zoom or something like that.
And there will be a bonus. I'm not sure what the bonus will be for texting or calling, but there will be some sort of ebook, audiobook that I'm going to give to Troy. I just have to go through my my massive
well, I'll put it like this. The very first one that comes through, you will get this book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution.
Wow.
For the very first one. So I'm holding it for the very first one that actually calls us to do business. If you're calling just to get the book, not working.
Right.
Because we want to pour into you if we are partnering. So that is my offer.
Action takers are money makers. So that's an amazing offer, of course. You know, and we're here to take action. That's what this whole podcast is about. So be serious, don't be curious. You know, we're all striving to live a better life. We're all striving to do better in this world. If you want to be part of our elite team, you know, we're here to help you for your success. So I hope that this call really inspired you to take action. Troy, you have to come back. I mean, I think you wet everyone's whistle with how much you know about how much. Like I said, he knows a lot about a lot. He doesn't know a little about a little, or a lot about a little. He definitely is a wealth of information. You know, there's probably so many different topics we could delve into. I'm really excited to continue working with you. Like I said, you're one of my main mentors. I continue to gather these gems. Like, he talks in gems. If you listen to him, he's giving you words to live by in everyday conversation. And my best mentors speak in books and quotes, and you'll walk away feeling inspired. Every conversation, you're like, wow, I could take this and really apply this. You know, I didn't think about that, but you know, that was a good conversation. Even if you're really calling for nothing, you get a lot out of it. So with that, Rainmakers, if you're part of the Alliance, of course, get the bonus sauce that's going to be in there. I asked the 3 additional questions. Obviously, they're going to be saucy. He is not giving you everyday ordinary answers. He is coming from a place of wisdom and experience that not everyone has that capacity. So if you're not a member, make sure you join. If you're just here to, jump in and out, that's fine. We love to have you here. I hope you really learned a lot. I know I did, and I'm also in this industry and in this business and have been a customer for a long time, but I still learned a lot today.
I appreciate that. Well,
Thank you
you have
so
an
much.
incredible
Yeah,
evening on purpose, and I appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Troy. Make sure you stick around.